Hey everybody, welcome back. Mike from Spectre Comics. Today we're going to do another SketchUp model build. I build models for my comics for items that I draw over and over again, and I like to see at different views. So any set piece, any vehicle, any ship, anything that I draw over and over again that's kind of complicated, but I want to be able to see it at multiple angles. I create a model in SketchUp to have a nice reference image that I can spin around, look at it at different angles, and then use that model to draw my comics. So it just makes it a lot easier. It makes my scenes more consistent. It makes the drawings more consistent, and it actually saves me a lot of time when actually drawing. If you've watched any of my other videos, you know how long it took me to finish issue 6 of the comic, which I just completed and is being printed as we speak. But one of the most commonly used scenes in Spectre Comics is the bridge of the Zebulon. It's kind of like Star Trek. They're always on the bridge. Spectre takes place in outer space, and they travel from planet to planet, galaxy to galaxy. Many scenes in the comic where they're just on the bridge, navigating, going through their adventures. And I thought it would be better going forward if I had a model that I could use to create a little more consistency. I'll show you a couple images in a second, so that you know what we're actually building. This is an image looking out, kind of out the windshield, looking towards, into the bridge. You can see the captain's chair in the center and the co-pilot's station right next to him. And then there's two consoles in the back, and that's where Storbo and Risa sit. And then they each have their workstation, and they have a monitor above them. And then behind them is a center panel. That panel actually separates the bridge from the exit, which is just behind that, and then there's actually a monitor which displays the status of the ship on the back of that. So that's from the front of the bridge, looking back towards the back of the space. The next image I'm going to show you, this image here, is kind of behind one of the consoles. This is Storbo's console, which was on the if you're standing at the front on the right. Storbo's console's on the right. He's actually sitting here. You can see his monitor up here, and he's looking out the windshield. I'm calling it a windshield, even though we're in outer space and there's no wind, but I don't know what else to call it. But looking out the windshield into outer space, you'll also see the curved support here. Now, that's not visible from the exterior. We'll look at the Zebulon model in a minute as well. From the exterior, so you can see what the whole ship looks like. And then here is another console here, and this console actually monitors ship alerts like enemies attacking or items like that. Let's take a look at the third image, and that'll give you another good idea of what the bridge looks like kind of from the back. Now again, we're standing behind that center panel that I mentioned earlier. Here's Storbo's console, here's Risa's console, Risa's standing here, and then you can see the captain's chair here in the center, and then the co-pilot Prox sits in the co-pilot's station here. You can see out the windshield again, looking at an asteroid field, and so these three images should give you a little kind of idea of what we're going to be building and how everything lays out. So let's actually take a look at the model that I've built. So this is the SketchUp model that I built. And in a minute, we're going to walk through the process of building it, but I just wanted to kind of show you what we're going to end up with and kind of point out the various pieces that relate back to the images we just saw. Now, again, we're outside of the ship right now, looking through the curved glass, and let's actually take a look at the Zebulon. The Zebulon is sitting here behind, I put it here just so I could kind of look at it while I was kind of building this. Again, you have the main bridge here. And this is the curved glass here represents the curved glass here. You can kind of see how this would just drop right into this area here. The sphere is like a cargo hold, but it also has other features. There's actually behind, at the back of the sphere would be a door and a ramp that would come out, allowing them to get out of the ship. And then there's these two wings here with the engines on it. Now the bottom fins here actually retract up when the ship lands on a planet, and would allow them to land the ship, and then again the drawbridge would the ramp would come out of the back, allowing them to get out of the ship. So that is the exterior of the Zebulon. So we'll focus now on the interior, just kind of looking at what we built here. Now again, the captain's chair, the co-pilot's station, the monitor station on the right side is ship alerts and ship danger, and then Storbo's console, Reese's console, their monitors above the center panel, and then if you actually go back, you can kind of see. You can kind of see the exit there, so that's how you'd get out. There's actually a door there that would slide open as people approached, or slide open and closed. So that is the model. Now let's actually get into the building of it. So let's take a look. Okay, so I had built the captain's chair quite a while ago, so I just kind of imported that into the model, and that was my starting point. The captain's chair is basically going to be the center piece of the model. And I just built a plane to build everything upon so that it would be easier. SketchUp's a lot easier to use if you start with a plane. If you're just out in space, just using the axes as your reference, it's hard to zoom in and out and pan around because you're not grabbing anything. So again, starting with the ship, I'm gonna just start by building the floor and then kind of using these lines to kind of dissect the space in order to determine where things are. Now I spent time actually playing with where things are because I didn't really know scale-wise how big everything was, like how wide the room was, side to side and front to back. So I was trying different things, and you'll notice throughout the process where I'm building this that I kept, kind of shifting things in. I just ended up felt like too wide to me. Now I am an architect by trade, so I do have a sense of space and how much clearance things should have just logically for people walking past consoles and hallways and stuff like that. So I was kind of using that knowledge to shift things around and making sure I didn't want it to feel like vast and open, but I didn't want it to feel small either. So I feel like the space has some volume to it, but it's not cramped. They're not on top of each other. There's room to walk around. There's room to kind of get a feel for the space. And then it's big enough that they have this big windshield that if they're all sitting at their stations looking out, there's a lot of viewing area that they're looking at. Now I'm starting by building the center wall, and the center wall, actually the way I've designed it, actually curves upward, and I had some trouble with the curved wall recessing the monitor, so I actually pulled it out. It doesn't matter to me if this is exact. The point is that I'm creating a space that I can look at and see where things are, and especially see where things are in relation to other things. So also one of the things that concerned me was that there's a lot of curvy elements. The consoles are all curvy. It's not like sharp right angles. So it was difficult to build all these curved lines in and then take out the indentations and push and pull the pieces that needed to go in and out. Because if you look at the drawings I showed you earlier, it's very organic. There's a lot of recesses, a lot of reveals, and you can see me trying to push things through here. But then I've got to, I got to push some leg space out under the console. So I had a challenge trying to draw these pieces because, I wanted them to be as accurate as possible. But again, it didn't have to be perfect. So I got it as close as I could. SketchUp is very hard to use in 3D space with curved elements. So especially when you have curved elements that you have to cut pieces out of. So I did the best I could with that. I use SketchUp a lot. I feel like I know SketchUp pretty well, but I'm not an expert by any means. I wouldn't be able to teach a class on it or anything. But there's a lot of different things that I did here, that allow me to build the various pieces that I did. And I'll talk through some of them as they come up. And I have to say, these desks were actually pretty complicated to build because not only is the base of the desk curved with a lot of ins and outs, the actual console part of the top of the desk was curved. I didn't model the actual console, like all the display panels and buttons. Obviously that would have taken forever to do. I modeled the various pieces the best way I could. Again, I had trouble with the curved lines and connecting them and then creating the pieces, but I think this came out pretty well. The nice thing is you can you can use blocks, you can shave pieces away, and then you can extend them across. So that's kind of how I was just building it piece by piece and trying to get it across. And the nice thing about the console is both Storbo and Reese's console are exactly the same as far as the shape. So as long as I could place them on the plan, and you can see where I've kind of laid out on the floor where they would go, once I build one, I just can copy it right over, create a group. A lot of the technique I use, and I'm sure everybody uses this, is you build various pieces and then you create a group out of them, and then you can use that block, and then if you edit it, you can highlight it and edit it without affecting the rest of the model. I always say SketchUp's a very sticky program, so sometimes if you grab a line, it'll pull other things with it, so you got to be careful with that. The thing I'm modeling here is the front. There's curved areas in the front just below the bottom of the, again, I'm calling it a windshield even though it's not really a windshield, but the front window. There's some curved pieces that go across the front. They don't really serve a purpose. The thing that's not very complicated with my bridge is there's not a lot of, if you think of Star Trek, you think of buttons and displays everywhere. My bridge is a lot more simpler than that. So again, we've got our main consoles, our main navigation. Spark's chair, the captain's chair, has pop-up controls that if he needs to fly manually. But they both have a display in front of them that's flexible and moves. So I'm building the sidewalls here, and the top of the Zebulon is curved. Now, if you look at the exterior of the ship, it looks like there's glass from front to back, and that would extend much further past this. But the idea is that it looks like glass, but the only visible part of the glass is actually the front half of that curved cockpit or bridge area on the exterior. Also, the side pieces, you'll see that there's those support arches. There's the side windows, but then there's the support arches that kind of go up. Now, those are on the inside, and the curved glass would go over that. So from the exterior, you wouldn't notice those curved pieces. So I'm building the side console here. Again, I just randomly put that there because I needed another station, but I had wanted it just as a side console for other purposes. But I thought it's a good piece. So it's not symmetrical. That's the only piece of the space that's not really symmetrical because it's off to one side only. But it does create another seat for another passenger. In the case of the comics I'm working on now, Arco has joined the crew temporarily, and he sits there when they're on the ship. Now I'm building the Spark and Prox's console displays that are in front of their chairs, their stations. So again, I'm not trying to be perfect with the modeling of this, but I'm just trying to get it so that I can see where it is in space and see how it looks. So it's just a thin panel. It sits on a curved post that goes into the floor, and it's flexible. It can move around. They can move it out of the way. They can move it back. It can recess into the floor. The hard part was actually building the organic post that comes out of the back of it. But I used I built a curved line, and then I used the Follow Me tool to pull the circle that was on the console. You could see me doing that here, pulling that down, and then I created a group out of that. And once I got one correct, I copied the display panel to the other to Prox's spot as well. Now I'm just adding some additional decoration into the space, like side panels, just to give a little more texture to the space, so it's not just empty blocks. I built the little display panels above the back consoles, and I'm going to build some chairs just to get the areas where they're sitting down, so that I know once I see the chairs, I know where somebody would be sitting in it. If I need to, I can actually move the chairs around if a chair's flipped around, if the chairs are all movable. So Spark's captain's chair actually sits on a pad and it levitates. There's no base to it. It actually kind of floats there, but it's magnetically placed there, and it stays, it swivels, but it doesn't move. But the other chairs can kind of move, kind of like roller chairs, but they're not on rollers. There's no wheels here. Don't want anybody rolling around the room. So I'm keeping the chairs pretty basic. I built the side console chair and then building the store-bought recessed chair for their consoles. And again, this just allows me to see what they look like. They're not actually exactly the way I draw them. I just shaped a chair, but they don't actually look. The chair that they actually sit on is so curvy that it would have been much difficult. So again, we looked at the finished bridge at the beginning of the video. We saw some of the pictures that we did, that I drew of it in the past before I actually had this model. I think in the future this model is going to be very helpful in modeling and drawing any scene that's on the bridge going forward. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed following along and kind of just the discussion of, I didn't really go through a tutorial on how to use SketchUp and build, but I kind of wanted to show how my process of how I designed a space using SketchUp. Again, there was a lot of trial and error here. I had to kind of shift things around constantly to reshape and resize the space so that it felt more comfortable, what I'm comfortable with. So that's it for this video. There's other SketchUp videos linked in the description of this video, so if you're interested in that, go check them out. Thanks for watching. Give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you want to see more SketchUp videos or more Spectre comic videos. And that's it. Well, have a great day, and we'll see you next time.